Welcome to the Yoga Therapy Hour. Our guest today is just one of those special people that when you meet her, you will love her. I mean, there's no way you can't. It's not an option. Chen Or Bach, and she's living in, well, I'll let her tell you where she's living. I feel like she's a special being. I'm just finished this episode, and there's something really special that I want you to unwrap like a gift during this episode. I think I'm not going to say much. I think I'm going to let you experience Chen the way that I did. And I'm going to allow you to unwrap the gift that I just received in her presence. So let's go meet Chen. Welcome to the Yoga Therapy Hour Season 9. When I had this idea about a year ago that we could take an entire year for all of you to come on the podcast and tell your stories, I had no idea how overwhelming the response would be and how amazing it would be to get to know so many of you, our faithful listeners. I've gotten to know friends and see faces and connect with hearts. So many people that I didn't even know were out there. People just like you and I. I'm so grateful. And the response has been so large that we're no longer needing anyone to sign up for telling your story. And I want to thank all the people who came forward to make this year on the Yoga Therapy Hour so successful. I'm so grateful to you. All right, let's go meet our guest for today and hear another story. Welcome, Chen. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Where are you joining us from today?
So I live in Boulder, Colorado. Me and my family relocated to Boulder 15 months ago, and we love it here. It's just so beautiful.
It is a beautiful place. You landed in a great place. Where did you come from previously?
We lived in Israel, and
Oh,
so
oof.
it's a
Well,
big
that was
transition.
a big move. Yeah. Oh my. That could be a podcast all in of itself.
Yeah.
We're not going there today, but oh wow. Well, welcome. Welcome to the United States again, or maybe this is the first time, I'm not sure. So, Chen, what do you love? What makes you want to get up in the morning and what gives you joy? I always like to kind of get to know the person a little bit before we get into the depth of
Yeah.
their story.
So, one of the reasons why I love it here is because of the proximity to this amazing nature and just waking up in the morning and seeing the mountains and the way that they're just there, so stable, so present. That's a great reason for me to wake up in the morning. But above all, my family, my practice, and my clients. These are all great reasons to wake up for.
I love that. And I've spent some time in the Denver and Boulder areas, and I just feel like the light in the morning and at night is so exquisite.
It is beautiful. It's really beautiful. I feel like the mountains are a major part of my healing.
Mm.
My main practice, I think, these days is hiking in the mountains.
Yeah, taking on that kind of grounded, stable, earthy quality inside of you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And seeing the changes and seeing how everything is in constant movement, though it is so stable and grounded. That's amazing.
It really is. I mean, I've been thinking the same thing living in Minnesota. We have four distinct seasons, and I lived in California for almost 30 years where there weren't as many seasons. And there is something beautiful about seeing that stability of the mountain, but the external part, the trees, the animals, the light, it all changes, but the steadiness is still there.
Yeah, it is really such a powerful embodiment of life.
And this is going to lead us, to the end game of this podcast, which yoga is so much more than some stretches on the mat, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So we'll get there.
Okay,
But
yeah.
start with your journey. You studied at Kaivalyadam.
Yeah.
Tell us about that back in 2001. I mean, I went to India for the first time in 2001 also, and
Oh,
I can't believe it was almost 25 years ago now.
yeah. Yeah, it was so special for me. I really didn't think that I'm going to fall in love with yoga. But I saw some yogi who was performing his practice and it looked intriguing. And so I was just looking for the nearby school, and there it was, Kaivalyadham. And then I studied there for a few weeks. But I got so much out of the practice, and also they handed this practice that you can take with you and follow it. And so I just kept on practicing that for a year by myself.
Wow.
And I've noticed how it changed me as a human being. It changed my presence. It was really impactful. So that was the beginning of the journey.
Oh, you said so much in those few sentences. So, number one, just to say, I just learned this from Rachel Krensman very
Yeah.
recently, who was on the podcast. She said a lot of people from Israel actually have a strong connection to India. Like a lot of people kind of go there and either hang out and so Indian philosophy is very well known in Israel. Was that your experience that you were just kind of in India and then you found yoga while you were there?
Yeah, I was in India and just found it to be so powerful. And I think that in the beginning, I really didn't know much about the philosophy. I
Mm.
was just doing the practice. But from the practice, I started diving deeper and deeper in. And then so how rich and vast this tradition is, and how it extends to much more than just the physical postures, but to philosophy and to ethics. It's just
Yeah.
so rich and compound.
Can we go back to that first year? I'm always so fascinated by this because it's happened to so many of us that we went in for the stress management or the curiosity, and a year later, we were kind of like a different person. What do you think the mechanism is? What happened to you during that first year? Do you have any idea?
I think that it's just really coming together where your attention and your breath and your body are all at the same place. And that's quite rare in the reality that we live in because our attention constantly drifts outwards. And yoga allows you to tap inside and to really feel who you are and feel yourself. And I think that once you get more established in that, it really changes the game.
How can we get that word out there? The potency of getting your mind and your heart and your breath and your attention all in one direction, that somehow shifts you at the very deepest levels of your being in a positive direction.
Yeah, it's not about saying that to people, it's about helping them feel that. The more we have yoga around, I hope that people will feel that and find how healing this space is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to jump ahead, but eventually in Israel, one of the things that really helped, and we were totally inspired by the IAYT doing that earlier, is by really setting standards for knowledge and experience, and by that making yoga and yoga therapy more knowledgeable by healthcare system. So that was really helpful in Israel. I see how yoga blooms there currently.
Mm.
It's also because of the suffering that is going on there, but definitely I think it's helpful.
You know, Jen, I don't know if you were part of this group, but there was a group that came to me, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, I was.
You were okay. And it was
I
like
was
this
there.
question, like, why are these standards important? And do we in Israel really want to attach ourselves to this American version? And, there was
Mhm.
a lot of discussion, which I think is super healthy, by the way. I don't think having doubt means that we've done something wrong. I think it's a healthy thing to question. is this going to benefit us and the people we're serving to be hooked up to this thing in the US, right? This
Yeah.
IOIT and standards. And I got to be a small part of the discussion, but sounds like your group or maybe you individually came to the thought that yes, it is important.
Yeah, yeah. We also had a lot of leaders in the healthcare system advising us, like saying we want to integrate yoga, but we want to know that the teachers that we bring in are skillful enough in order to support people who are going through major health challenges. And so it was both seeing what the IAYT was doing and seeing what are the demands in the healthcare system in Israel.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, in late October, I think we had an episode with Rachel Krentzman who gave us a lot of detail about how all of you have been so successful in getting it into hospitals and kind of what was your pathway and how did you move into hospitals, which I think is so beautiful because now that comes back to us in the United States to understand how you were so successful in Israel so fast, because we haven't been that successful here, honestly.
Yeah, I think that, like the mother of invention is necessity. So it is in Israel. It's just that the healthcare system is really understaffed and under-resourced and has so many patients to take care of that they just embrace whomever is willing to come and help. And I think that once yoga was able to set foot in the door,
Mm-hmm.
and patients come back and report how helpful it is for them to have the yoga support them and also feel that they are being seen in a holistic way and not just as their problem, their situation, their amputation. No, even if they are amputated, they are still whole. And that is really important. And once you are able to communicate it and bring it to people, and by the way, unfortunately, I'm not the one who's doing it. Like I was just setting the earth maybe for the process to happen, but it's happening because of so many amazing yoga teachers, yoga therapists that are working there.
Well, Chen, you planted the seeds. And I would say now that you're in the US, maybe we all can plant seeds with you and take what you learned from that experience because we're in desperate need of ideas here. So we're glad you're here. And also, it ties into something that I read about your background, and that is that you were on an academic path computer science, cognitive science, brain science, neuroscience, getting a PhD. Tell us about that because honestly, to me, as much as your story will unfold about what happened to the PhD in neuroscience, we won't go there yet.
Yeah.
To me, that is a beautiful merging with what we're doing in yoga. It explains so much about what we're doing in yoga.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I studied computer science just because I needed to study another subject together with cognitive sciences. And so cognitive sciences was, for me, a yoga practice because I wanted to understand how this machine is working or how this spirit is working and where do they come together. And so going to study neuroscience and cognitive science was really, for me, a part of my personal yoga path. So it's not disconnected in any way. I just wanted to understand as much as I can the complexity of who we are. And these were the questions that I was interested in as a young adult. And so I explored it on the mat and I explored it in the academia. And that seemed to be really integrated. And so I was in my PhD, third year of my PhD. Out of the blue, I received a breast cancer diagnosis. And that really was a real shock for me because it wasn't even on my radar. And no one in my family had cancer. So for me, it was like, what is going on in here? And it really sent me into a different direction, this diagnosis.
Can we pause there for a moment? Because so many people, myself included, we think I'm a yogi. I eat fairly well. I move my body every day. I try to manage my stress. I don't have a history of cancer. Somehow I must be immune to this. And it's so shocking when you get
Mm.
those words. Was that your experience?
Yeah, I was totally overwhelmed with it. I didn't know what to do with it because I thought I'm doing everything so right. How come I have cancer? And that was really shocking. But then I remember taking a walk. It was about a week after receiving my diagnosis.
Mm.
And as I told you, I really like the connection to nature. When I walk, I feel that it's my deepest moments. And so suddenly I realized that, yeah, I was doing a lot on the physical aspects of it, but I could do better in several other koshas. So I really came to the understanding that if I want to heal, really heal, deeply heal, I need to take care of my whole being, not just my physical being, not just eating right and doing the right exercise and all that, but really making sure I'm joyful, making sure my ānanda-kośa is also in a good place. And I think that when I was diagnosed, I was a mom for two young kids. 6 years old and 4 years old, and I was in the middle of my PhD. My husband was involved in a startup and he was very invested in his work. And so we were building a house, and it was all just so much. And I didn't take enough time to see how do I spend my energy and if I can keep a little bit of that for me. So really the framework of the Pañca-kośa, which refers to the physical body, the energetic body, the mental body, the wisdom body, and the joyful body, was a very impactful framework for me to work with during this time.
I'm so glad you said that. Everyone that I've talked to who's gone through a cancer diagnosis and treatment and recovery, every single one says, I didn't have joy in my life. I was overwhelmed. I had too much going on. I was taking care of everybody else except myself. It's just like this common theme I hear over and over, and myself included.
Yeah.
And, as we know from the Pañca-kośa model, the deepest, most potent and powerful part of that model is the ānandamaya, is the joy. And yet that seems to be the one that we're all forgetting about. We're all out on the edges, making sure that we're eating organic broccoli and getting our steps in.
Yeah.
And that's actually the weakest, least potent.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. It is nourished by the Ananda eventually. Like it's all embedded into one another. I mean, it is important to eat healthy food. It is important to avoid toxic chemicals. It is important to do all that. But if we really want to live, I think it's really important to be joyful, love life.
Love life. That's it. We need t-shirts that say love.
Yeah, definitely. We should get some.
And also figure out ways how to love those activities. So, like, instead of me going to the gym and forcing myself to run on a treadmill, which I hate, I can do water dancing and feel joy of the water and the music with my headphones on. And, because I don't put my head under. Like, there's ways to infuse the joy in so many of the things we're already doing. You out walking and getting your steps in. I put those steps in air quotes, but admiring how the light looks against the mountain and the crunch of the leaves and the smell of the earth. Like, we just bypass all that to get our steps in.
Yeah, well, I try to no longer do so. I try to really be present with whatever it is that I'm doing, not for the sake of completing the task, but really enjoying the way. And yeah, just as you said.
how do you do that? How did you make that mental switch? Because that seems so subtle. Like, I'm going to be not just present to my life, but I'm going to design a life that I feel joy while
Mhm.
doing dishes or getting my kids to school on time. Like, how did you make that shift?
It's, I think, just as yoga, a lot of practice. I mean, I've had a practice where I am, folding the laundry and being thankful for being able to fold the laundry, having enough energy in my body to do so, and like seeing the holes in the socks and saying, "Yay, my kids are growing." And
Their toes are longer.
yeah. And so these little practices of trying, and it's not easy. I mean, I don't like folding laundry. I don't really like cooking, but still, when I cook, I try to bring in some love into my cooking and bring in presence and make whatever I do an act of love and kindness. And it's not always working. I'm not always cooking with love. I'm not always folding the laundry with love, but I try to. It's a practice.
Please take a moment with me to go and listen to something a little different, and then we'll get right back to the guest. Many times, as yoga teachers, yoga therapists, or even moms, dads, grandparents, we wonder what's happening with our loved one in between the times we're seeing them. Whether your child went off to college or whether you're a yoga therapist who only sees your client once a month, you might wonder, how are they doing? Well, here at the Optimal State, we have developed a mobile app where people can track how they're feeling mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually at different times of day, seasons of the year. And basically, you can see the data. You can see how your 6 to 10 a.m. slot in your day looks and how you usually feel at that time versus your 2 to 6 p.m. How do you feel at that time of the day? And you can see the patterns. You can set a week, a month, a season, and get the aggregate data so you can see what your pattern is. Where do you tend to go out of balance? And the cool thing is you can just take a screenshot of that summary and send it off to your yoga teacher, your yoga therapist, your parent, your child. It's a really great way to check in. And I think especially for maybe kids that don't want to call their parents all the time from school, they could just show their parent the data like, okay, I'm doing all right. Here, look at my data for the last 2 weeks. Screenshot, boom, it's yours. Now you can settle down and stop calling me. It could be that, or it could be that your child is not doing well, but they don't know how to say that to you, or maybe your client. And so your client could take a screenshot of their data from the last week and send it to you as they come into the session so you kind of have an idea of what's going on with them. So there's many ways to use it. And in addition, there are wonderful interventions that help people to come into balance. So I hope you'll consider checking out on the App Store. It's called Optimal State App. You just type that in, Optimal State App, and check it out. It's free for the first few weeks. So you have nothing to lose from trying it out and checking out how to track, how to get your aggregate data, how to send that off, and then hopefully how to get some interventions. All right, now let's go back to our guest. You know, this is something that I'm really trying to get across to our students in a yoga therapy program, that this change of perception, not a spiritual bypass, but the sacredness of every word we speak and being mindful about how that might impact someone. The preciousness of looking at your children's socks and seeing that there's a little hole there and be like, wow, they're really growing.
Yeah.
Never be this size again. Like, that is yoga. Like, I don't even know if we're doing yoga if we're not at least attempting this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also that eventually the yoga have more meaningful if it steps away from the mat and comes into life within life and not just a physical practice, which is beautiful. I loved it. It really supported me during lots of times in my life. But I think that there is so much richness in the yogic tradition, in the yogic philosophy, that we are missing if we just maintain only the physical aspects of it, only the asana.
Yeah. So let's move back into your story. So you made a life-changing decision to leave academia.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy
That's a
one.
big deal. That's a big deal. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, as I told you, I was really working with my different koshas, and in the vijñānamaya kosha, in the kosha of connecting with the inner wisdom, I realized that what I wanted to do was not explore data and write research articles, but really work with people and help people. And so I realized that I can keep on doing this and finish my degree, but knowing that maybe I don't have as much time, offer these tools and these ideas sometimes, because much of it is really philosophy to people who are going through any major health challenge. But specifically, I had a few groups that were designated for cancer patients. And I'm so grateful for being able to share that. And so that was really meaningful.
I just had this flash when you said that. So here you are, you've had yoga be such a support to you going through breast cancer diagnosis, treatment, recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking, I want to share this with a couple of groups.
Yeah.
But tell me what happened. Was there more healing that came back to you and through you by sharing it?
Of course, of course. It was a two-way street. I was teaching people, some of them were even dying from cancer, and being able to support them through their journey and seeing the calm and the acceptance they've had was just mind blowing for me. It was like they are my teachers. I'm just there to breathe with them and to sit with them and to be there to offer my presence. But basically, they are offering their presence to me. And I felt that it was really, really amazing to witness the human being.
I just find it so humbling when we think we are there to teach someone, but they show up in a way like further along in the journey somehow, some way, at least in that area. It's humbling.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
So, throughout all of this time of you going through this and sharing with others, is that right around the time that you were also in the Israeli Yoga Teachers Association?
Yeah, yeah. So
Tell us just a little bit about that because here you are, like going through this health crisis, sharing it with others. Now you're on a
yeah,
board of
so
directors, you know?
yeah, so actually, I really think that cancer brought a lot of healing to my world. So it was both personal and offering this practice to others. But one of my teachers told me, you should do karma yoga and take it even farther. So I joined the board of the Israeli Yoga Teachers Association and basically just wanting to share yoga to people who would not usually have the ability to participate in yoga classes, like when they are going through major health challenges. And I was starting to work on that. I was starting to approach different organizations, healthcare organizations. And when I was speaking to the leaders of these organizations, as I told you before, they said we need to know what knowledge and skills do these yoga teachers have to offer. And so we started a process that took almost 5 years of exploring the different skills and knowledge that are required for yoga therapists.
Mm.
And it was a very long process, but eventually we were able to come up with accreditation program that is implemented really successfully, and I think is the foundation of the ability to integrate yoga into healthcare systems. I was also doing it personally myself. I had the great privilege of working with TBI patients, with traumatic brain injury patients, and incorporating mind-body programs into major rehabilitation facility. And little by little, drop by drop, each yoga teacher is sharing his knowledge. And I think that yoga starts making a real impact.
So, Chen, I'm not familiar with how you all ended up. You took this 5-year process to create standards in Israel, it sounds like, to bring yoga into healthcare. So, does that mean the term yoga therapist wasn't included? Like, how many hours did you come up with, and what was
Okay,
the term that you decided on eventually?
So I really wanted to follow the IAYT in terms of my personal preference, because I found it to be a very rigorous training and skill formation. In Israel, the basic training a yoga teacher needs in order to be recognized as a yoga teacher is 500 hours, which is more than in the States.
Yeah.
And so, just as it came up in your conversation with Rachel, many of the Israelis have an access to the philosophy and the practice, and they want to go deeper into these realms. So, what we suggested is just to complete the other 500 hours during the yoga therapy training, which is composed of basic, like the fundamentals of yoga therapy, which is 300 hours. And then you can specialize for 200 hours more in different domains. So you can take trauma-informed yoga, or you can take cancer-informed yoga. So that is the way that we decided to set the standards.
So, just so I'm clear, so to be a yoga teacher, you need 500.
Yeah.
And within that, 200 might be like a yoga teacher, 300 might be more of therapeutic application or yoga therapist kind of things.
So this is in the additional 500 hours.
Oh, so
So you have
1,000
your
total.
basic training as a yoga teacher,
Okay.
and which is also like very deliberately, and like we know what a yoga teacher that graduates from a yoga training course knows. And then on top of that, we have another 500 hours in order to become a yoga therapist. And in these 500 hours, we have 300 hours of basic yoga therapy skills and 200 hours of specialization.
Beautiful. So it's also 1,000 hours, just like
Yeah, yeah.
but the generalist part is 300 and then a little specialization. I love
Yeah, it's more modular, because we found that we had a lot of objections of creating very long courses, because in Israel, you never know what is going to happen. So you don't want to commit yourself to a long study session. So it was easier to break it down, and then you accumulate the hours and eventually you become certified.
I love that model. Wow. And I just want to throw in here, I know there's a lot of people out there that are upset with IAYT and kind of feel like they didn't protect the CIAYT. But when I hear you talk, Chen, and I say this to people, like, we have almost 20 years of work of thousands, hundreds, I don't even know how many people coming together to have these discussions and rigorously wrestle around with the standards and figure out like what's a path forward. Like, it's not easy business. We're pioneers, all of us in Israel and the US, and it's messy and we're not perfect yet, and we haven't figured it all out yet, and we are going to have missteps and then be like, oh, that didn't work, let's try this. So I think just giving each other a little grace for the messiness and having
Yeah,
patience. I mean, people ask me all the time, Amy, are you going to renew with IYT? And I say yes. Not because I agree with everything, not because I'm, 100% thinking everything's perfect, but because I'm dedicated to the process of
yeah.
this messiness and figuring it out together so that we can serve people.
Yeah, I think that eventually it is really important for the people that we're serving that we will keep on learning and keep on practicing and get supervision. It's really, really important. And it's true that yoga, when it was practiced thousands of years ago, didn't have all these regulations and certifications, but we are living today. We're not living in the past. And I think that today, if we really want to make an impact, we need to know what we know.
And volunteer to get involved like you did. Do karma yoga.
Yeah.
Like, don't complain until you've actually been in there given it
Yeah,
a shot. Oh,
it was
it's hard work.
very messy.
So hard. Oh my gosh. And in fact, I mean, I don't know if I should bring this up right now, but to the point where it takes away our health. But strangely, here you are trying to do something good in the yoga community, and it's stressing you out so much that you end up having health problems. So we have to also balance that as we're doing our
Yeah,
karma yoga.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, we have another part of the story, if
Yes,
you will, but
I don't know. It's like, is this a weird transition to the next part of the story? But you go for it. Let's see.
yeah, so really after completing this process and doing all these beautiful things, which I think that were rippling even beyond my personal thing. My husband got involved in a new startup that is basically protecting people from hazardous chemicals in everyday products. He was also doing his karma yoga with a lot of tapas. And I think that we've really healed in so many ways as a family. But still, after all this, the cancer came back. This time, it was really hard for me to accept it because I felt that I've completely shifted my life towards healing. And what does it mean if it comes back after I do all that?
I just want to sit for a minute with that because it's just so painful.
Yeah, it was.
All of that on so many layers and then receive that news again. It just makes me feel like we control nothing. Almost like a nihilistic, like, oh, forget it. But we shouldn't go there. I know, but it just is so heavy.
Yeah, it was. It was. And this time it was really a crisis that it took me a long time. I'm still in the process, I guess, in a way of figuring out, okay, and now what? What do I do with my health, with my healing, with yoga? How does it turn out to support me now? And really, during the second time, when I had to go again through chemotherapy, surgery, everything all again, I couldn't find as much comfort in the practice as I used to. And that was really discouraging as well.
Thank you for sharing
And
that.
I think it's important to talk also about these places in the practice where it stops serving you and you find yourself struggling with, okay, I need to do my practice, but I don't feel it supporting me. And I was struggling with it for quite a long time. And then I decided to let it go, just
Wow.
to let it go. But I think that once you become a yogi, you cannot really stop being a yogi.
Fortunately.
And so, yeah, I wasn't practicing so many asanas. My meditation routine changed, my pranayama changed. But that was the time that I felt that my practice is really happening in every minute of my life. And like, how do I show up now? How do I face this uncertainty? How do I go through this hardship? And that was a different form of practice, but I think it's still practice.
It sounds to me like you let go of some of the tools, the pranayama, the asana, but instead of doing yoga, you became it. It
Thank
was
you for
you.
that reflection. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Maybe even a deeper, I don't even want to say practicing yoga because you became it. You just are.
Yeah, so during this time, I think that I was practicing in a different form. Like, Sri Aurobindo says, all life is yoga. And I really came to understand that during that phase of my life.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people say this. Asana actually doesn't feel good in my body anymore,
Yeah,
but I'm actually more of a yogi than I've ever been, you know?
yeah. Yeah, just to say it's a slippery way because really it's hard to have yoga embedded into every moment of your life. But they do try now to, like, I meditate, I practice pranayama, I do asana several times a week. But I find that walking outside in nature is a form of practice that nourishes me. And so that's yoga.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the yoga guilt that comes with I didn't do my postures or my alternate nostril breathing, like I hope at some point we can release that shame that I'm not being a good enough yogi. Like, what are we talking about? That's ridiculous. That the whole goal is to walk in nature and be present in this moment with what is. Why get so caught up in, I didn't do the tools today when you're already doing it on your walk? You've arrived at the goal. You're being present in this moment.
I'm
Like
trying to. I didn't arrive the goal. It still is a practice. It's always a practice, but it's a different way of practicing. And I think that if I wouldn't have my other practice of asanas and of meditations and of pranayama for many, many years, I don't think that I would have been able to be as present, like look for the yoga in my life.
that's an important note,
Yeah,
right? That because of all that, you have arrived in this moment.
yeah, yeah. And I still really hope to get back into asanas and to enjoy the same way I did before, but I have a lot of instability issues in my joints currently. And so I know it's not always the best practice for me. Some of it is, some of it is not. But the thing, I really like to push it. And then that's not good for me now.
I love what you said. Many of us, as we get older, we get like an instability in our sacroiliac joint and all those deep forward bends and twists. They just don't work for us anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And you also mentioned, as we come to a close, you also mentioned that the teachings of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra have offered another layer of healing.
Yeah, actually, during the days that I was unable to do nothing, like I was just lying in bed, I figured that the best form of practice for me would be listening to audiobooks on the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. And actually, the Bhagavad Gita was one of the main sources of comfort. And it's such an insightful book, especially when you go through cancer and you fight your own body in a way. It was just so insightful and so connecting and meaningful for me to have these texts around me when I needed the mental comfort.
Every time I get in the car, the Bhagavad Gita comes on through. I hated how Apple turns it on every time, but last night it turned on when I got in the car And at first I was like, oh, I'm not in the mood for listening to this. But then I thought, no, I like the sound of an Indian master, the rhythm, the pace, the tones. Like, even if I don't listen carefully to every little sentence, that's comforting to have it just kind of
Yeah,
background for me. And somehow I think it's going in there, even if I'm not 100% paying attention to it.
yeah, yeah. So that was really soothing
Yes,
to
that's what I
have
felt
that
last night.
in the background.
I transported to India for a few moments, like, oh, okay, just let's just pretend you're driving around. uh, so, Jen, there's something that you mentioned earlier that I have curiosity about, and it's a little mystical. Tell me about this Indian monk that has been helping you heal. I'm not sure how you would frame it.
Yeah, well, that is quite a story. So I was just at the end of my chemotherapy treatments when I got a call from someone who used to rent my studio to teach like yogic meditation. And I was talking to him, and he asked if he can come and stay at the studio. I knew that he had a very strong background with energy work. Like, this is his tradition within which he works. He's an acharya. His name is Dhyānand, and he's doing energy work. So I said, yeah, you're more than welcome to come and stay in the studio. I'm not using it at the moment, so you can come and be there. But maybe if you will, you can share your energy with me. And so we've gotten into 2 weeks of very intensive, energetic work where he taught me different form of breath and different forms of channeling energy to my body, from my body. And that was an amazing experience seeing someone who is really living that. And I'm still working on understanding and integrating this knowledge into my body and into my life. I'm just so grateful for him for showing up just as I needed that so much after chemotherapy and offering his teachings and his presence. And I went back to study with him during the Kumbh Mela, during the last Kumbh Mela that happened in February in India.
Whoa.
And yeah, and he's like very gentle, sweet, and powerful being.
Wow. I also know a Dayananda that is a gentle, sweet, powerful being. And I'm just wondering if we know the same person, but we'll check
Maybe.
into that afterwards. Mine lives in a very small village, though, in South India. So he may not be the
I
same.
think no.
Okay.
He's a devotee of Saima. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I would love to share your website and just let you talk a little bit about what you're doing these
Mhm.
days and anything
Thank
you want
you.
to tell us, any upcoming programs.
My website, it's pretty new and I didn't even launch it yet. But
Ah,
my current offering, like next week, I'm going to take the National Board Certification exam for health and wellness coaches
mm,
because I found that I don't have enough tools to create behavioral changes, which are part of yoga.
right.
And so I've been studying that with the Chopra Institute. So it's very aligned with the yoga. And I hope to be able to offer people on top of yoga therapy also a way of integrating more behavioral changes. So this is the coaching offering on my website.
I agree with you. It's such a great pairing.
Yeah, I really felt that I'm missing these tools. And so I wanted to learn more about it. And so I offer that, and they offer yoga therapy, and they offer an integration of these two paths into health journey because we didn't talk about it much during the episode, but going through a major health challenges is very isolating sometimes. And it's really nice to have good company
Yeah.
as you walk through this journey. And this is what I hope to offer to people, just being there for
Can I
them.
read this off your website?
Yeah, sure.
This is what I wanted when I was unwell. You say, I'm here to walk beside you, holding a safe and nourishing space where you can explore your unique path to healing and wholeness. I love that line. Yeah. So they can get a hold of you through your website? Is there a contact us?
I think so, down there, maybe, or here. Yes.
All right, a chat. All right.
Great.
Is it? Woohoo.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah, so thank you for getting into the website. And I do feel like my dharma is supporting people on their challenges. And I feel very honored to be able to offer these services.
Yeah. Well, I will be sending people your way. Whenever I meet someone that I feel a really strong heart connection with that's doing great work like this, it's just so nice to be able to make referrals if I'm not the person for them. So I will definitely be sending people your way, Chen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So, as we come to a close, is there any piece of advice or wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners about your story or your healing?
Yeah. I think that I've said it, but I'll repeat that because I think it's a message worth spreading that yoga is so vast, so deep. This is a tradition that has been developing for thousands of years. And so, even when one aspect of it is no longer serving you, there is so much depth and so much wisdom in this tradition. It's almost always that we can find something in there that can help us overcome whatever challenge it is that we're going through.
I completely agree. And we'll never learn it all. That's the other thing I love. Like, there's so many things I have no idea about yet. It's kind of emerging.
Yeah.
You know? Like, one thing I don't know too much about is yantra. And I know at some point in my life that will be the flower that blooms for me, but it's not now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really amazing to see the way it evolves, the way that it moves through us back and forth.
Well, thank you, Chen, for sharing your journey with us. And I want you to know as you go through this more recent health crisis that we're with you, we're thinking of you. People you don't know are praying for you and sending you love. And
Thank
I
you.
think as we've built this kind of online community through this podcast, I never thought of it this way until today, but like people listen to your story and they think of you often. And I think that's very precious. I love that idea of you getting support on this journey with what you're going through now and even in the future. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for allowing me to share that so kindly. And I'm so happy to be able to do that.
And I have a few friends in Boulder that I think I should introduce you to.
I love that.
You're a newbie there. So, all right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Chen. It was lovely, lovely to be with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chen, for being with us today. I just feel soft. I feel sattvic. I feel safe having been in your presence for the last hour. And I am guessing our listeners feel the same after they've listened. I think it's so important to note that how we make people feel in the world is a big deal. How we show up energetically, how we're present for others, how every moment is sacred and precious as much as possible, how we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and tender and be with other people in their vulnerability and tenderness. It's just such a gift to show up in a way like Chen is showing up. It's really all we need to do. I feel that if we all worked on that instead of our websites and our social media and our image, I think yoga would spread like wildfire. I don't think we'd have a marketing problem anymore if all of us just decided to be the yoga. So that's what Chen has inspired me to do today. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Thank you to our guest this week, and thank you for listening to the Yoga Therapy Hour. Something that I've been working on behind the scenes with my friend Marlisa Sullivan is going to come out in 2026. We've been writing a book together for the last year where we go deeply into yoga philosophy and yoga therapy. And then we have the scientific vagus nerve, heart rate variability, all sorts of polyvagal theory to back up why it is that yoga philosophy is right on track and why it's been helping people for thousands of years. We're turning in our book this fall to the publisher, and in the spring of 2026, it should come out. So we're just giving you a little heads up that that will be coming out soon. And when it does, we can't wait to share it with you. Thank you for listening to the Yoga Therapy Hour. We wish you a wonderful week. We hope that somehow, in a small way, we've contributed to your well-being so that you can go out and share that well-being with others. That's what life is all about, bringing in the goodness through you and then shining it out to the world. We need you more than ever. So let's all get out there, do good, be good, and have a great week.